I will have to do all this? I thought, slightly exasperated and nervous, looking at all the twisted poses in a magazine article on yoga. My nephew had been insisting that I do some yoga class, and I wasn't sure if I was really made for such a gymnastic feat, but he gave me no choice. This is how I landed up in my first class with Sadhguru, where my life changed forever. When Sadhguru initiated us into Shunya, the whole room seemed to be vibrating with the sound of the Bij mantra. I felt I was in a trance. On the closing day, we assembled at the Sadhguru Shribramha Seva Ashram in Coimbatore. It turned out that it was just 1 kilometer away from where I used to stay, but I never had visited this place before. This person looks like our Sadhguru, I thought, looking at Sadhguru Shribramha's photo in the Seva Ashram. The class had a very profound effect on me overall, but what inspired me most was the way the volunteers offered themselves. So, after the class, I wanted to join them, and I actively started to volunteer. Initially, I volunteered with the initiation days of Isha Yoga classes in and around Coimbatore. Soon I was involved in most of the Isha activities in Coimbatore and was visiting the ashram every Sunday. In May 1995, I had the opportunity to volunteer for the first Samayama in the ashram. For a group of over 200 participants, we were just 11 volunteers who did everything. Cooking, hall setup, security, everything. We had to shift food from what is now the second gate to T block, carrying huge vessels by hand. It was very hectic and a lot of hard work, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hadn't done Samyama by then, so the whole atmosphere seemed even more mystical. The entire ashram seemed to have been enveloped in an esoteric silence. Yet, we heard people screaming, making various animal sounds, and rolling all over the place. After the first couple of days, all the participants came out for sadhana at midnight, which happened in the moonlight. It was just amazing to be a part of it. Soon, I too had a taste of this in my first samyama. Once I was volunteering for a class in Karur. Sadhguru was staying in a volunteer's house that was very close to the Jain caves that Sadhguru often talks about. Sadhguru had visited those caves and had shared that the place was still very vibrant and conducive for a spiritual sadhak to do sadhana. After closing the class, Sadhguru called me and another volunteer and asked us to climb up to that small hill and do our practices there. You also come with us, Sadhguru, I urged. I have stopped doing practices, Pa, he said with a smile. I didn't feel like going without him and missed this opportunity. Till today, I haven't visited those caves and sometimes I regret it, wondering, why did I not listen to Sadhguru? Another intense volunteering experience for me was when the Avudayar for the Dhyanalinga was brought from Karur. I joined the procession from Singannallur office where Vijjima did an aarti to the Avudayar. We were so excited that we made the procession into a kind of exuberant party. Volunteers colored their faces, tied ribbons around their heads, played drums, and danced throughout. I was in the rear of the truck where the Avudayar was kept, but it didn't prevent me from jiving non-stop. Witnessing Sadhguru, who joined us later to perform a miracle to get the overweight truck to cross a narrow bridge, added to the excitement. On January 23, 1997 evening, I received a call from another volunteer asking me to get some unusual items and immediately rushed to the ashram. Only after I came here, I learned that those items were needed for Vijjima's cremation. After handing over the materials to a brahmachari, I joined the line to take her last darshan. When I went near her to touch her feet, my eyes met Sadhguru's. Till today, I remember that glance of Sadhguru, though I am not able to describe the depth of it. We stayed in the ashram overnight and left in the morning after the cremation. During these years, I asked Sadhguru 3 times if I could come to the ashram full time. Each time he said yes, but then I couldn't make up my mind. Actually, on one side there was a deep longing to fully commit to the spiritual process that Sadhguru was offering us, but on the other side I had no understanding or clarity of what it was about. I used to see brahmacharis in the ashram working very hard and used to wonder if I would be able to offer myself like that. Slowly, I realized no matter how much I thought about this, it didn't make a difference. I did not have an explanation for what I felt while volunteering or while in the presence of Sadhguru. Nor could I shake off my logical mind, arguing against giving myself totally to something that I didn't understand. So, finally in 1997, I moved to the ashram full time. I was initiated into Brahmacharya in 2000. I felt a certain freedom within me after the initiation. When the kitchen shifted from T block to old Bhiksha hall, which was earlier attached to Spanda hall, I was asked to take care of the cooking. I didn't have any cooking skills, but somehow I managed. Once we cooked for 2000 people one day. I was super thrilled to see that we could do that. I was astonished this time when I heard that for Mahashivratri 2017, we had prepared food for over 1 lakh people. During this time, once I approached Sadhguru about some personal issue that I was facing, no complaints, he said, before I could tell him about this issue. The way he said this to me, it just sunk within me that I must learn to handle my personal issues myself and allow him to do what he needs to do instead of spending time in sorting out our personal quarrels. In 2004, I shifted back to the ashram to take care of the security activity at Second Gate. This is where I first encountered a few tiny beings who hijacked my attention for the next 14 years. And it is so even today. It was about 5 p.m. in the evening. A few village girls came to me and asked if I had a bicycle that they could ride for a while. At first, I was surprised by this request, but then when I paid attention to them, I realized that they were very poor children and wanted to just enjoy cycling. Unfortunately, I didn't have a bicycle, nor could I find one in the ashram. But I got to talking to them and found out that they were from the nearby tribal village, Dhanikandi. To my surprise, these children had been coming to the ashram every evening to eat and knew many brahmacharis here. "What class do you study in?" I asked one of them. "8, the girl said with pride. Just to tease her, I asked her to write a few words in English. To my shock, she could not even write some of the alphabets properly. Upon inquiring with the other children, I realized the situation was the same with the others also. I felt so bad for them and asked them to come an hour early for their evening meal for some lessons in English and maths. They all came the next day an hour early, and they were very eager to learn English and maths. As I had said before, I never took up Brahmacharya with any clarity or understanding about the path or spiritual process. I decided to walk it only because I wanted to be close to Sadhguru and give myself more completely as a volunteer. This, perhaps, was one reason why I couldn't keep up my sadhana very well and mostly gave priority to the activity that I was doing. Sometimes I struggled a lot within myself during the activity, but I always thought that happened because I was not able to fix something on the outside. Last year, I sat for Samyama and also attended the Samyama sadhana that same year. With the support from the Sangha, I've been able to regularize my sadhana in the last 1 year. The difference within myself is palpable. My experience of life on the day when my full sadhana happens and the day when it doesn't happen is starkly different. This stability in sadhana has brought some clarity about the beauty and purpose of this path. It has made me feel even closer to Sadhguru within myself. I wish one day I see Sadhguru with an enlightened eye. I am grateful to the Sangha for bringing me to this state of longing.